Nelson Mandela once said that education is the most powerful weapon which you can use to change the world. And another author by John F. Kennedy once said that all of us do not have equal talent, but all of us should have an equal opportunity to develop our talent. Our quality education has the power to transform societies in a single generation, provide children with the protection they need from the hazards of poverty, labor exploitation and disease, and giving them the knowledge, skills, and confidence to reach their full potential. And one of the most powerful tools for empowering individuals and communities is making certain that any individual who wants to receive a quality education can do so. If we are serious about building an economy that lasts, we have got to get serious about education, because we are going to have to pick up our games and raise our standards. But the fact is, no matter how good the teacher, how small the class, how focused on quality education the school may be, none of this matters if we ignore the individual needs of our students. And on that note, I'm welcoming you and everyone listening to me, watching me live, to this groovy edition of Burning Issues, coming out live from AIM-FM TV, situated in the premises of the SS Hotel, Akpete in Ibadan. Olushola Yolami is my name. I will be your anchor for today. And then as usual, it's going to be a tasty one. The program that you never love to miss is going to be a groovy one as usual. This is AIM-FM, where we set the agenda and project the truth. We never fail you to bring up about all these issues that we think that needs to be discussed openly. It's not going to be a lone man show today because I have my guest in the house already. But before then, we want to talk about the flaws, the ambiguities that has been happening, that Nigeria education system has been facing for long, for decades. But it seems as if we did not do anything about them. Lately, we heard about the issues of a secondary school girl together with JAMB. But I personally, I can say it confidently, confidently, that this is not the first time that JAMB we have something, we experience such glitch like this, because I remember vividly 2016. I could still remember, let's say 2015, 2016, I was still in Osun State, where a couple of some students, they sat down for JAMB examination, their UTME, and they printed out a particular result. They printed out their results today, scoring some particular set of grades. 2 weeks after, they went to the JAMB portal to print their results, only to find out that their results has changed. And then what has JAMB done to that since then? Or is it not in this Nigeria also that we've read, we've heard, and we've seen during West African examination, that is WAEC, the students who sat for WAEC examination that year, they will just buy a recharge card that we do load on our mobile phones. They have this code that they will press together with the recharge card pin, and then it will bring out all the objective answers for the next day paper. And then what do you think? The Ministry of Education, the examination body, be it WAEC, NAPTEL, JAMB, or NECO, or any other examination that we have in Nigeria, what have they done to curb all these? Well, as I've said earlier, it's not going to be a lone man show. I have a seasoned a coach a tutor. If I call him an educator, but he is a coach. When we talk about in terms of education, a coach to the teens, to the youth, a quality leader. When we talk about our current generation, I have Mr. Afolabi Omotesho. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, sir.
Okay.
I hope you can hear me.
Nice to have you on the show this afternoon, sir.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm happy to be part of this conversation this afternoon. Thank you so much. And good afternoon, listeners at home, viewers as well.
All right, sir. It's not new when we talk about education system. I'm sure you know everything when it comes to education system in Nigeria, even though and beyond. Because I can say categorically here on here, I know you are a seasoned person. When you have value, you have passion for education, and then I've seen your impact in so many places in the lives of students, the teens, even though the adults. A great leader to this generation. I want to ask you this question, or let me just put it to you this way, sir. I'm very sure that you are aware about what happened to Jam and a particular girl in question, of which I would never made mention of her name. Well, let me just put it to you this way. What can you see, just your own view, your own opinion about the whole scenario, sir?
Thank you very much, MFMTV. And before I go into answering that question, I want to first of all appreciate what you've done just now, which is something that we've been talking about, especially when this news came on air and people are talking about it. And one of the things that we're not so pleased with is the fact that the child in question was put on the spotlight, which is totally against the children's rights and safeguarding the children. So I think it is very important that we take out the name of the child, we take out the face of the child in question to safeguard the child. So, yeah, talking about the issue, there are so many sides to it.
Okay.
I think clearly stated the question has come out to say that, yes, the same score that Jam is claiming that she got is what she received as a text message from Jam. So how she got the first score is something that we still need to dig deeper into. I am not an investigator, and I'm not going to give any conclusive talk on that. So, but what I would say is that it's clear that there's something wrong with what she printed out and her actual result. And I think with more investigation, the regulatory bodies will get to the bottom of the matter and be able to pick out the culprit in this case, because it's not just the child. The child alone does not have the power to do what is claimed that she has done. So I think this is my own perspective and my own view on that issue.
All right, before we leave the whole issue of that Jam for now, presently, Jam is saying that they will buy the girl for 3 years. And then since the girl has come up openly, and then she has, should I call it a confession, that truly the text message I got from Jam is the same thing that Jam is claiming, that is what that is on Jam portal. Is it not unfair for Jam to still restrict the girl, to buy the girl for 3 years? At least they should allow her to use the 249 score, or just your own opinion on this generally?
Thank you very much. I think I have also looked at that issue from that aspect and perspective. The truth is, when we look at what the done and what the law says about what should be done to a child, we need to understand that everything that we should be focusing on should not be punitive in nature. We are not looking at things that will punish the child, because the child is also a victim of an environment. The child is a victim of a community. The child is a victim of the society at large. What we should be focusing on right now is not, yes, to condemn the child, neither is it to applaud the child. Like some people are saying, oh, we give you scholarship to go and school in a school somewhere in Europe and all of that. It's neither to condemn the child nor to applaud the child. What we should be focusing on is how we can rehabilitate that child. What went wrong? Why did that child get into that situation and position? It's clear, it is glaring that the child is a high performance child, even in class, in school. So whatever led to her doing what she did, what our focus should be as responsible adults, which I also expect even from the regulatory body, is how do we rehabilitate this child? How do we get this child back on track? And that is why even safeguarding that child is important. Of course, according to the law, the child is not guilty until proven so, even in court, number one. And for a child, even when that child is proven guilty in court, whatever measures is going to apply must never be punitive, must be rehabilitative in nature. So that is what our focus should be.
All right, okay. You've done enough justice on that already. Okay, let me put it this way. Let's leave the old saga of the girl in question and jam. Let's come to reality. Education sector in Nigeria, education system in Nigeria. Do you think the Ministry of Education as a body, as a whole, have they been driving education sector forward in Nigeria, or we've been experiencing some setback on it? So what's your take on that?
That's a huge question.
Okay.
Where we are at present, I can't. I'm looking for the adjective to qualify where we are, especially with our education. I'm not going to put it on just the Ministry of Education alone, but I think I'm going to start with what is our priority as a nation. Because if UNESCO says 26% of the national budget should be put into education, and here in Nigeria we are having less than 10% of our national budget invested in education, it tells a lot about where our priorities are as a nation. And that's where it begins from. Nigeria today is the largest economy in Africa, but yet we have the lowest literacy level rate in the whole world. We have just 59% of adult population that can read and write as a whole nation. That tells that we have a huge challenge to deal with. Nigeria has almost over 10 million children out of school. And we are not still talking about children that are in schools that do not have the basic facility to help with their education. It tells that we have a long way to go when it comes to education. And sometimes I want us to also look at the fact that we sometimes have a round peg or a square peg in a round hole when it comes to our education system in Nigeria. Was it the last Minister of Education that was talking about the fact that he knew nothing about education before he got into the ministry, and he was there for how many years? So we can now see where the problem is. I think the problem with us as a nation is we do not know what we want out of our education. We are not actually putting the right people in those positions to actually help us. I remember I was somewhere in China some time ago, and I was having a conversation. Well, it's an educational trip, so I was having a conversation with some heads of schools there, and one of them said something. He said, which I quite agree with. He said, the problem with Nigeria that he has seen is that as a nation, we don't know the vision and the purpose for our education.
Can you repeat
So
that,
we
sir?
just jump on any wagon. He said the problem he has seen with our education system is that as Nigerians, we don't know our vision and the purpose for our education.
Wow.
So we just jump on anything that comes at us. Today we jump, British curriculum. Tomorrow, Finland curriculum. Today, and another day we are talking about Singapore. And as a nation, I think it's necessary that we sit back. Because John Dewey talked about the fact that education should be determined by what is needed in the society. I'm just paraphrasing now. So we need to look at our society, the uniqueness of our economy as a nation, and begin to design the education that is fit for us. I think it begins from there. Of course, there are other issues that we are facing right now in education. Like I said, lack of proper funding. If I had to go on,
Exactly.
we look at the quality of teachers
Yes.
that we have in our schools today. For example, UNESCO was saying, I think in 2021, said we still need about 277,000 teachers to be in our classroom if we are going to meet the minimum student to teacher ratio as a nation. Now, that is the number we need. But even the ones that we have, what is their quality? I always say that the quality of teachers, even as a nation, is a broken window already in our national, in our education as a nation. If we look at, okay, what is the criteria for putting someone in a college of education? Let's start from there. Do we have the best brains in the colleges of education? In fact, sometimes I've seen that. Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you clearly.
Okay. In fact, I've seen that sometimes it's the list of people, right, in terms of their grade and qualification that we push into the education department. And these are the people that will still go into classroom to teach other children. So can we see that even from that point we have started missing it?
Wow.
And that's why a country like Finland will still have one of the best education in the world, because they put their best brains in the education industry. So these are part of problems that we are having. We can talk about the curriculum, how outdated our curriculum is, if it's actually preparing children for tomorrow, or we are still teaching them in the past. Somebody said that if we teach students the way we were taught in the past, what we are doing is that we are robbing them of tomorrow. And I think that is a case in Nigeria. But like I would still say that all hope is not lost. Because while we look at all of these challenges, we have seen some ray of hope. We have seen some people coming up to do some fantastic thing in that same system. And so we can't give up. We can't give up all hope. So okay. let me pause here for that.
Okay. I just want to chip in some things from your observation so far. You know, you made mention of the Finnish, which the Finland as a country. I understand quite well that even though, if you ask me, Finland is not one of those countries that has the best education. I will tell you, Finland is the only country that has the best education throughout the world. Because I looked at their own curriculum. How do they manage to teach their students? They adopt a system whereby it's not a must for a teacher to go to the classroom. You call that student to yourself, and then you teach that student one-on-one teaching like that. Now, in Nigeria, we have a lot of teachers. You made mention of colleges of education. We have colleges of education. We have people in Nigeria system now. If you want to do distance learning courses, they will give you BEd certificate, Bachelor in Education. My question is, where are all these people? Colleges of education graduated with this NCE certificate, and then why are we still lagging behind in having enough and sufficient teachers, educators to tutor the children, the students, right, in the classroom? Why are we still lagging behind in that aspect?
I'm going to start by saying, how many children today have you interviewed and they tell you quite all right that they want to be teachers?
Then why did school give them that course?
Now, that's where the problem is. You see, if I ask you now, do you want to be a teacher?
This is my profession. This is my profession.
Because the truth is that I've seen that the way teachers are treated and remunerated in Nigeria discourages a lot of people going into that profession in the first instance.
Is it only in Nigeria, sir?
Teaching in Nigeria, not only in Nigeria. That's the truth. I must say that it's not only Nigeria that is having this issue with their education, right? But this is our own Jerusalem, so let's focus on our nation.
Okay.
If you want to go ahead, we'll see that there are problems with the education system also in UK, and you will see that recently UK UK was looking for teachers from Nigeria, from Ghana, and all of that. What's wrong with their own teachers? So a lot of their own teachers are pulling out from the system. And that's why there was a time too US had the same problem.
Sure.
When you talk about some of the top executives in USA, a lot of them were dropouts from school. But some of them that were dropouts of schools are today are major investors in the same education system in the US. Talk about someone like Bill Gates. Bill Gates contributes a lot to education in USA, even generally in the world today. But of course, we say, oh, he dropped out of Harvard University. But at a point, they needed to call these guys and look at, okay, what are we doing wrong? And then they began to do their revamping of their education system. The same thing happening in Singapore today. Singapore is doing a lot of revamping in their education. Wow. And that's why I would say, okay, when you talk about the best educations in the world, Finland is not just the one. A lot of other countries are doing a lot of revamping. China is doing their own that is working for them, right? So I think Nigeria, number one, teaching is seen as at the bottom of the ladder as a profession in Nigeria. Except for people right now that are coming up to change the narrative. For example, I am a proud teacher and I'm proud to say that anytime, any day. Right? So, but the truth is, we need to do it right. Number one, for me, I would say step up the criteria for entering into any of these colleges of education. Teachers are supposed to be the best of brains. I have seen some NGOs that are doing fantastic job in that regard. There's this particular NGO, I'm not going to mention the name because I know this, we are on air, that gets out the best of brain from the universities, first-class graduate and all of that. They do a one-year internship and go into schools to teach these children. Because we know that because of their level of achievement, they will be a very strong inspiration to the students that they teach. So number one, even look at the quality of the NCEs that we are talking about, the colleges of education. What kind of education is going on in the colleges of education that we are talking about? What kind of facilities do they have in those colleges? What kind of curriculum are they being taught on? How are we actually building what should be ready for today and preparing the children for today's world, tomorrow's world in the teacher that we are training? So these are questions that we need to ask ourselves. So whether we have all the colleges of education, we have the national open universities and all of that, what is the quality of the teachers that are being churned out? And I bet to say that a lot of them go in there because there is no other means to survive. And the moment they find another option, they dump that and jump on that other bus. Because in the first instance, it wasn't their passion. It wasn't what they wanted. It was situation that pushed them there.
Okay, all right. Many thanks to you, Mr. Omotesho. Okay, I'm still going to throw out some questions from your point just now.
Okay.
You know, I believe so much. Even though being a journalist, a radio presenter, or whatever you call it, I have strong passion for teaching. So much. But you said something now that what kind of products do all these colleges of education and other institutions, what kind of products are they producing to the society? And then if I should hear you clearly now, so definitely it seems as if the products that the colleges of education are putting, are disposing to the society, they take up the teaching job, and then it's making the quality of education in Nigeria to diminish, to vanish, even though, as we can call it. Now, is it the fault of the students who go to NCE or colleges of education, or the teacher, the lecturer who tutors such students to become a bad omen to the society? You know, it is what you teach me that I will teach others too. So is it my fault to go to that school? You know, you teach me. Now let me put it this way. Mr. Montesho, you are my lecturer, and then you are my lecturer in NCE, and then eventually I become a teacher. It is whatever you teach me that will stick into my brain, and then that is what I'm going to teach my students too. So whose fault really is it for we to be having poor tutors, poor educators, poor teachers in Nigeria today?
I'm gonna address that question in this way. We're not trying to throw blames right now,
Sure.
but I'm gonna say the problems that we are looking at is, number one, poor funding of the education system in itself, which is affecting all these colleges of education. The kind of the facility in place are already poor.
Wow.
Secondly, the curriculum that is being dispensed needs to be upgraded. And then thirdly, we need to upgrade the criteria for entering into these colleges in its first place. If we are saying that it takes this level of score and grade to be in the medical school, in the engineering school, what is the qualification for someone that will be in the colleges of education? These are questions we need to ask ourselves. Now, but aside all of that, this is why we emphasize on the fact that teachers are meant to be lifelong learners. They are supposed to continue to develop themselves. And there are so many avenues for continuous professional development. So as a teacher in the system, you must understand that you are very important to the lives of the students that you teach. You are very important to the revamping of education in Nigeria. And you cannot stop learning. You must find avenues where you can continue to grow. No matter where your background is, no matter what your background is, there are several avenues for continuous professional development. So you must reinvent yourself. That's one of the things I will always tell teachers. I remember when I started teaching many years ago, in my community, I knew that a lot of people were not measuring up to what I wanted to see. I personally went online. I searched for what is happening in this country, what is happening in that country. I started doing things that were not common in my environment, in my community. Sometimes I bring up ideas and people were like wondering, where did you get this from? I remember as far back as those years, I introduced phonics when nobody was doing it in my community. I did all of that. How did I get to do that? I did not learn it in the 4 walls of any school. I had to relearn. I had to unlearn. I had to learn. Like somebody said that the illiterate of today is somebody that cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So we cannot sit on our oars and say, oh, this is the person we will blame for the situation we are in and all of that. We must learn to reinvent ourselves. We must learn to continuously, professionally develop ourselves. So that's one of the things I always tell teachers. You are important in the life of your student. Please, please give your best. Be the best for them. No matter what your background looks like.
How can we learn, unlearn, and relearn? Once you share this, we will quickly go on a commercial break. But before we go, how can we learn, unlearn, and relearn?
All right. Number one, learning is something that is exposing yourself to the right knowledge, to the right understanding, right? Mm-hmm. Now, sometimes what you did yesterday cannot work today. Okay. And if you are not open to relearning or unlearning what you did yesterday, you are sticking to the status quo. There's going to be a problem. Because you are going to be dispensing what is not useful for the now. Somebody said that the meaning of sticking to your status quo is sticking to the mess that we are in. So we cannot keep sticking to the mess that we are in. We have to continue. Okay. When did we start hearing about AI? 2-3 years ago, was there AI?
No.
There was no AI. So now there's AI. And as a teacher, you must understand how to implement that in your classroom. COVID came. Nobody was expecting it. People started talking about online learning, hybrid learning, and all of that. A lot of teachers were out of the job because they could not unlearn and relearn. So we must understand that the world that we are in right now is what we call a VUCA world. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, it's ambiguous. And until we learn to reinvent ourselves, we will get outdated. Somebody said there's nothing like stagnancy in this world. It's that you are going forward or you are going backward. So learning, unlearning, and relearning is a must, especially for anybody that is in the field of education, because our power is our knowledge.
Okay. Many thanks to you, Mr. Afolabi Omotesho, for that wonderful contribution. What responsibility do educational institutions and teachers bear in promoting ethical behavior among students? I hope you get that question. What responsibilities do educational institutions and teachers bear in mind promoting ethical behavior among students? That is the question that I would like you to answer once we come back from our commercial corner. Don't go anywhere. It is still the burning issues. And this is AMFM Radio TV. I will be right back shortly.
You can reach us on all our social media platforms, on Facebook at AIMFM and TV,
on Twitter at AIM_FM,
on Instagram at AIMFM_TV,
on YouTube AIMFM Radio and TV.
Ọ̀rẹ́ mi gbà mí, gbogbo àwọn ilẹ̀kùn ilé mi ló ti dógùn, kódà gbogbo àwọn táìsì tí ń bẹ nílé mi kò lówó lójúmọ́.
Níbo lo ti rà á?
Ṣé bí lọ́dọ̀ àwọn kan tí ń ta lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ ọ̀nà?
Ha! O ti sanwó gbowó. Ṣé o ti gbọ́n pa ilé ìtajà Starlams Homes Wear Enterprise? Ó kúrò ní gbàrọ̀gùdù. Eléyìí tó dojúkọ ilé ìfowópamọ́ Kingston Bank agbègbè Àbáyọ̀mí Ìwòrò nílẹ̀ Ìbàdàn. Báwo lẹ ṣe fẹ́ sí àwọn ilẹ̀kùn ayẹta, àwọn táìsì tí ó gbohun iyì àti ẹwà bá ilé, àwọn àgbá omi lọ́lọ́kan òjọ̀kan, luvin ṣíìtì eléyìí tí ó gbé àwòrán ilé jáde àti bẹ́ẹ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ lọ. Gbogbo rẹ̀ ló wà lójú kan náà lọ́dọ̀ Starlams Homes Wear Enterprise fún gbogbo kọ́lékọ́lé àti àgbàlékọ́. Gbogbo àwọn ohun èlò ilé eléyìí tí ó sọ ilé rẹ di àwòdámi ẹnu ọ̀dọ̀ Starlams Homes Wear Enterprise ni ó yẹ àkàsí yìí. Ẹ pè sórí ẹ̀rọ ìbánisọ̀rọ̀ yìí 0708 760 5119 lẹ́ẹ̀kan sí 0708 760 5119. Starlams Homes Wear Enterprise fójúlówó àwọn èròjà ilé tó nù ń wò lójú.
The Aces Hotels and Conference Center is one and only event place with a clear difference and tasteful excellence here in the ancient city of Ibadan. For your next and upcoming event, whether marriage engagement, wedding reception, anniversaries, conferences, seminars, or birthday, the Aces Hotels and Conference Center is affordable and fully equipped with all imaginable ultra-modern facilities for your total convenience without headache, security, power, environment, parking space, and royal service by their staff. All roads lead to the Aces Hotel and Conference Center today at kilometer 2.5 Ijokodo Akbete Akufo Road at Kere Ibadan. For booking and more information, call 080-8746-7420, 080-9744-1898, or 080-2869-0012. The Aces Hotels and Conference Center, where comfortability speaks than words.
Ìgbà tó tó gbá ní í ṣe baálé ọba gbọ́migbọ́mi, kọ̀ǹkọ̀ tó tún kọ̀ǹkọ̀ ní í ṣe ọba wọn lálẹ́ odò. Bó jẹ́ tìròyìn tó pójú owó, orin tó dùn ún gbọ́ létí, àṣà, ẹ̀fẹ̀ àtàwọn ọ̀rọ̀ ìṣítí lọ́lọ́kanjọ̀kan. Ìkànnì AMFM rédíò ọba ló jẹ́ láwùjọ rédíò.
You can reach us on all our social media platforms on Facebook at AIMFM and TV.
On Twitter at aim_FM.
On Instagram at AIMFM_TV.
On YouTube, AIMFM Radio and TV.
You welcome back from that short commercial break. It's burning issues. And this is AMFM Radio and TV, situated in the premises of the Aces Hotel, Akbete in Ibadan. Don't forget, we've been talking about solutions to ambiguities of education in Nigeria education system. We've highlighted a lot of problems that surrounds education system in Nigeria. We've talked about the issue of unqualified educators, unqualified tutors, unqualified teachers, as you can call them. We've talked about having a bad equipment for education system, and where do we keep the Ministry of Education in a situation whereby UNESCO is telling us that before we can catch up with others, we need to employ more than 200,000 teachers in Nigeria system. And then Mr. Afolabi Omotosho, our guest for today, has said a lot about one or two ways by which we can easily have that kind of solution to all those problems. But quickly, before we move into that, before I have him back on the show today, actually I've asked a question of which he's going to answer for today. But I want you to know that when we talk about examination malpractices in our society, in university, one thing I want you to understand is examination malpractices is not only when you cheat during an examination. It is also when you are not able to do one or two things. We have different forms of examination malpractices before an examination. Examination malpractices can come before and after and examination. And then, when we want to talk about obtaining sets of questions, modifying student scorecards and answer script, and or the mark sheet, and then forms of examination malpractices during exams include using another person to sit for an examination on behalf of a candidate, bringing in prepared answers or copying from textbooks, notebooks, laboratory specimens, or any other instructional aid smuggled into the examination hall, collaborating with an invigilator to cheat in the examination hall, communicating or attempting to communicate between or among examinees, copying or attempting to copy other students' work or answers in examinations, submitting or attempting to submit a new prepared answer script as a substitute for the original script, and many more, and so on and so forth, like that. But I asked a question from our guest this afternoon before we went for that short commercial break, and the question was that what responsibilities do educational institutions and teachers bear in promoting ethical behavior among students? You welcome back, Mr. Afolabi Omotesho.
Thank you very much. And I'm going to address that question in this way. There is something I always say. I think, was it 1923 or 26? Mahatma Gandhi stated 7 sins that will be dangerous to the world. And the 7 things, one of what he said was knowledge without character. He mentioned other things. He talked about wealth without work, which is something we are seeing in today's world. He mentioned pleasure without conscience, commerce without ethics. He mentioned religion without sacrifice, and mentioned so many other things. Mentioned 7 sins. The one that he mentioned that I want to talk about is the fact that he said knowledge without character. And Aristotle said that when we educate the mind without educating the heart, it is no education at all. That is, when you educate just the mind, the brain, the cognitive domain of a child, without educating the heart of that child, that is no education at all. So what we do most of the time in this part of the world is that we focus more on the cognitive domain of that child. Oh, how will this child pass the test? How will this child pass the exam? In fact, we have gone to the level where we have overemphasized grades and paper qualification. And I always say, as long as that exists, you see this thing called malpractices in examination, misconduct in examination, it will become difficult to educate. Because somebody said, when you turn your goal, when you have a goal, right? There are many options to achieving your goal. But be careful not to turn your option to the goal. Education is not about how many A's or B's you have in your WAEC. That is a part of education. In fact, it's an option in education of today's world. We have schools right now in today's world
I know
that
how much
do not.
I'm spending on my son, on my daughter, and then you will tell me that to come home with D, with this economic hardship in our society in Nigeria. My friend, not yet.
And that is why we promote more of these malpractices.
Wow.
Because the pressure to get the grades is what we are focused on. How the grade is arrived at, that is most important. We are neglecting that. I always tell my child something. I said, I am not happy with the result you bring in. You can come home with 100%, 90%. That's not what makes me happy. If I don't see you put the effort in, I am not happy. Get all the A's. If I don't see you, I don't see the way you studied, I don't see the passion and the effort you put into preparation, I am not pleased at all. Because if we say our education is preparing these children for life, life is not going to throw you questions that you have immediate answers to. Life will give you questions that you have to dig deep. You have to dig deep to be able to find answers to it. We need to teach our students that the process is much important, much more than the outcome, much more than the effort, much more than the result. Because once the result is the goal, people will get it anyhow. Now, that brings me to, there's this thing that we talk about in education. We say Bloom's taxonomy. And a lot of teachers focus on the cognitive domain of Bloom's taxonomy. That talks about knowledge, understanding, from understanding to synthesizing, evaluating, and all of that. 6 stages. But we forget that the same Bloom's developed the affective domain and the stages of our affective domain in education as well. For me, I believe that the most important aspect of education is actually the affective domain.
Okay.
Because education is supposed to help us to become better human beings. But in today's world, what are we producing? Literacy is increasing, but the fear of human beings is also increasing. You are afraid of the next person that will fraud you or that will dupe you, because our education has neglected the affective domain. Now, the problem also is this. When we go into schools and we try to teach the ideal value, the ideal things, but in the society, our students are seeing the negative thriving, the negative being victorious. It becomes confusing to them. That is this ideal actually going to work? Does this ideal pay at the end of the day? In a situation where we are already pulling down the dignity in labor, and people are making and cashing out without doing anything, like Mahatma Gandhi says, wealth without work. How do you teach the ideal? Now, does that all open? The answer is no. The affective domain goes to 5 different levels. The first one is the student receiving the teaching in the first place. Gone are the days when we have moral instruction in school. Yes, we don't have it again. In some subjects, it's still included somehow, right? So the teaching is the first thing, but that is not enough. The student must go from receiving the teaching to responding to the teaching. That's the second level. when they begin to see that, oh, it's like there's sense in this humility, there's sense in integrity, there's sense in honesty. Now that is not enough. They must move from responding value. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, so they must move from responding to valuing. When they begin to say, okay, this is value, this thing is worth it. Right? Then they move from organizing it, leave it out, internalize it, and then leave it out. This cannot be achieved in a classroom alone. It cannot be achieved, and it's not something that you will test at the end of the term or at the end of a lesson. But this is something that will be done through mentoring, coaching, and most importantly, role modeling. What these students need is to see role models that they can pattern their life after. John Dewey said something. No, is it John Dewey? Yeah, I think John Dewey said something. No, John Wooden. Sorry, John Wooden. He said that no plea, no books on the shelf can teach our children who they should be. It is who the teachers are themselves. That is, no plea, no instruction is good enough to teach our youth what they should be and who they should be. It is who we are as teachers ourselves. And this is one thing I tell teachers. We are the mirror of excellence to our students, both in our work style and in our lifestyle. So, do your students see something in you that they look forward to? For me, that has always been my testimony. How many times has your student look up to you and say, when I grow up, I want to be like you?
Wow.
Because there is something different. There is something beyond the subject that you teach. If what your student know you for as a teacher is the subject that you teach, you are not doing enough. You must go from just being a subject teacher to be a role model to them, and move from being a role model to being an inspiration to them. That's why for me, I focus a lot on teachers. Yes, because we are like a pivot in the lives of these children. No wonder, is this John Steinbeck that says that teaching is the greatest of art, because the canvas we paint on is the heart and mind of the students.
Wow.
So what are we painting on their heart? What are we painting on their canvas? It's a question we all must ask ourselves as educators and as teachers. Because eventually, most of the time, it's these same educators that become school owners and all of that. So, yes, teachers have a lot to do. Because we eventually will determine what happened in the society. I always tell my students, I said, one day, you will be the governor of a state. Remember me in your head. So when you want to do the wrong thing, and you hear the name Afolabi Omotesho, it corrects you.
Exactly.
And put you in check. So that's one aspect.
Mr.
Of course,
Mr. Motesho, let me continue. To be sincere, I'm kind of getting lost already. I'm falling in love. It's like you've romanced me already with your words, your teaching. This one, I don't think it's called an interview or a talk. It's like a seminar on its own. Okay, even though we're supposed to go by now, this is 1:55. But lastly, I want to ask this question, and then in maybe 3 minutes, just summarize everything. What steps can individual, communities, and organizations take to rebuild trust and integrity in our education system?
That's a deep question. What step? Can you take the question again?
What steps can individuals, communities, and organizations take to rebuild trust and integrity in our education system?
Let me undo the question this way, and I will try to be brief. It's a question that would have taken a lot of answers, but let me just be brief. I'm going to share something from the Jewish community.
Okay.
Growing up, I understood that the Jewish community were regarded as one of the most successful tribes in the world, and I decided to take some time to study what they do. And this is one thing that they do, and I've said it before. A Jewish will tell you, work hard, do all you can, put in your effort. That is your reward. The outcome, God. Because if you can do the effort, that already is your reward. If we all as a community begin to focus more on the process of the thing rather than the outcome, I believe we begin to correct a thing. We're going to collect the fact that it's not about you getting all the A's that matter. Is that, do you do it the right way? So what effort did you put in? What is the story behind success? Because that must begin. But in general, when you talk about the education in itself, I think we need to go back to the days where values is more and more.
Wow. Okay. This, let's do it like this. I think we are still going to have a recap. Maybe let me call it another time that we will invite you, sir, for another edition of the continuation of this series, this episode. And this is the convenient time for us, where we shall draw the curtain on this program for today. Many thanks to you, Mr. Afolabi Omotesho, for sharing your precious time with us, and then you've enlightened us a lot on the show today. Many thanks to all the crew members that work with me this afternoon. Many thanks to Ayuba up there, and then many thanks to Oyedotun as well. Till next week that will come your way on your darling program, Bonnie Issues. Olushola Ayobami is my name, and I say bye for now.